Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About Clutter. I'm your host, Margo, a professional organizer specializing in chronic clutter. And today we're tackling a big question that often comes up when people start decluttering. Do I have to get rid of everything in order to be organized? Minimalism has become a buzzword, but let's be real, not everyone wants to live in an all-white, furniture-free home with only 5 outfits in their closet. And guess what? You don't have to. Decluttering doesn't mean stripping your home down to the bare bones. It's about keeping what adds value to your life. And the best part is you get to decide what that is. So if you've ever thought, I want a tidy home, but I don't want to throw away everything I love, this episode is for you. So let's dive in. Let's first talk about the minimalist myth. Minimalism often gets a bad reputation because people assume, myself included early on, that it means extreme decluttering, getting rid of anything that isn't essential. But true minimalism isn't about having less for the sake of less. It's about having enough, just the right amount of stuff to support your lifestyle, not to overwhelm it. Here's the thing, clutter isn't just about the number of items you own. It's about the relationships you have with those items. Do they bring you stress, or do they serve a purpose? Do they add value, or do they just take up space? A great example of this is books. I had 2 clients, both of whom had an overabundance of books. One client, let's call her Lisa, had old textbooks, books she picked up at a garage sale, and others scattered around her house, some in boxes and some on shelves. The abundance of books she never read, nor had any intention of reading again, weighed her down. She wanted them gone, but had a huge time letting them go. To her, they were clutter, and she really wanted to learn how to part with them. On the flip side, another client of mine, let's call her Amy, had hundreds of books meticulously organized by genre and author in a perfectly curated library. To Amy, these books were a sense of joy and relaxation. She loved cuddling up with a great book at the end of the day. This was part of her self-care routine. While Lisa was suffocating by her maximalist book collection, Amy was comforted by it. Clutter-free is very much subjective, so let's break down the difference between intentional decluttering and extreme minimalism so you can find a balance that works for you. So what's worth keeping? Decluttering isn't about tossing everything. It's about keeping the right things, and the decision can only, and I can't say this enough, only be made by you. So here is some guidance on how to decide. Does it serve a purpose? If you use something regularly and it makes your life easier, it's valuable and worthy of a keep. The next thing is, does it make you happy, right? It's not only about functionality. It's not only about keeping items that have a purpose, that have a function, that are used, but it's also surrounding yourself with items that make you happy. You know, a good example of this, and I get a lot of negative comments about this on my YouTube channel, but I have pictures on my refrigerator. And a lot of people tell me, oh my goodness, Margo, you're a decluttering coach. You know, your refrigerator looks so messy. It has so many pictures, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's very true. To some people, having stuff on your fridge is clutter. It's messy. But for me, it's not clutter. It's a sense of joy. I love, especially if I'm like having a crappy day or whatnot, and I love staring at photos of my family and my daughter and our trips together. It makes me happy. So to me, that is not clutter. And also, is it aligned with your lifestyle? Now be honest here. Are you keeping things for the life you actually live or for a version of yourself that doesn't exist anymore? This is especially common with clothing. When it comes to our wardrobes, oh my goodness, how difficult is it to declutter a wardrobe and dresser drawers? But we often are holding on to items for just in case. We are holding on to items from our past self, our fantasy self, our future self. Oh my goodness, there's a lot going on in the closet. When we should really be holding on to things for our current self. Now, yes, you by all means, hold on to a few items of maybe, you're currently trying to lose weight and you really feel like you're going to, fit into an old pair of jeans. Yes, hold on to it, but there's no need to hold on to an entire wardrobe. Another example is if you love to cook, it's okay to have an abundance of cooking supplies. If you love to cook in theory, but your idea of dinner is a meal made in the air fryer, you might want to consider parting with some of your utensils and pans. So I hope that you're starting to see that minimalism or maximalism and just in general purging and what it means to have a tidy, clean home is incredibly subjective. Don't compare yourself to the neighbor. Don't compare yourself to your family members, and definitely don't compare yourself to what you see on social media. So one of the biggest fears people have when decluttering, and I encounter this so often as a decluttering coach, is regretting what they get rid of. What if I need it someday? Or I spent so much money on that item, I can't possibly let it go. Don't fall into this rabbit hole. The chances of you needing an item you haven't used in years is slim to none. But if you are somebody who is hopefully on your decluttering journey, maybe even transitioning to minimalism, here is some guidance on how to declutter without regret. First and foremost is to start small. Declutter a drawer, a cabinet, or a category of items at a time. Please don't feel obligated to rush through the process. This is how we make mistakes. Decluttering and the art of letting go becomes easier and less overwhelming with time. It is absolutely okay to keep more than you need your first go around. And I promise you, you will part with more and more as you kind of build the habit and the momentum of purging. The next thing when it comes to decluttering without regret that you might want to try is to invest in a quote unquote maybe box. Not sure about something? Put it in a box, label it with today's date, and store it for a month or 6 months. If you don't miss it, you probably don't need it. There is no need to get stuck on an item while you're decluttering. The decisions of keeping or letting go should take a few seconds. And if you find yourself paralyzed making a decision on one item, keep it as a maybe and tackle it at a later time. Most importantly, you are in control. It is up to you to set your own rules. Instead of following extreme minimalism trends, create your own rules based on what makes sense for you and your family. Maybe you love decorative pillows like I do, but you probably don't need 10 coffee mugs. Customize your space to fit your happiness. The goal isn't to have the least amount of stuff. It's to have the right amount of stuff. I am incredibly transparent about not being a minimalist. I guess the new trending term is minimalish. If you've ever heard that, I have things. I have art on my walls. I have throw pillows, books, and photos on my fridge. However, nothing in my home overwhelms me. And if it does, then I'm like, ooh, that's a sign that I need to go through some stuff and declutter. Every item I own is a source of happiness and function. I am, however, a wardrobe minimalist with very few items perfectly curated to fit my lifestyle. And I say this because, or rather I share this because you can be a minimalist in one area and a maximalist in the other. But as long as you feel good in your space, then you know what? You have what you need. The truth is that decluttering doesn't have to mean parting with things you love. It's about striking a balance, which takes time, by the way, between having a home that feels spacious and organized while still feeling like you. So the next time you feel pressured to get rid of everything, remind yourself minimalism is a tool, not a rule. You get to decide what stays and what goes. If today's episode gave you a little permission to keep what you love and let go of what doesn't serve you, I would love to hear from you. Send me a message or tag me on Instagram at Be Good to Yourself by Margo. And if you are ready to declutter with confidence, then grab my free Ultimate Decluttering Guide, which literally walks you through what you can purge in every single room of your home. I will leave a link to it in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. And if you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend or leave a review. It truly helps. As always, good luck on your decluttering journey. And remember to be good to yourself.